Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. It is the last but one video on pronouns, and today we are going to speak about the indefinite pronouns in English. If you haven't seen my other videos on pronouns, you can follow the links in the description to this video. In order not to miss my new lessons, please subscribe to this channel. If you like what I'm doing, consider supporting me here, and let us start. So, indefinite pronouns. Indefinite pronouns are some, any, somebody, anybody, something, anything, someone, anyone, and one. Why are they indefinite? Because these are those pronouns that refer to no person, no particular thing or amount or notion or whatever. Nothing in particular. They point out to some person or thing indefinitely. Let's see. We have bought some snacks for the weekend. Some snacks. We don't specify which exactly. So, not particular snacks, but some of this kind of food. Is there any milk left? Any. The sentence doesn't tell us about a particular quantity of milk. We ask in general, is there any milk left or not? I'd like to eat something before I go. Something, not a specific dish. And did anyone call while I was away? Not a particular person, but anyone at all. Please note that in the first two examples, some and any are determiners. What makes them determiners? Those of you who have watched my previous videos on pronouns already know the answer. They are determiners because they are followed by nouns. Some snacks, any milk. If I ask, would you like some? Some in this question will function as a pronoun. Now there will be a little bit of boring theory. I presume that you would like to know it, because if I don't say what I'm about to say, you might feel lost in various classifications of pronouns. In English, the same pronouns can be included into different groups of pronouns, and these groups may have different names. For instance, relative pronouns that we studied in one of our previous classes are sometimes called conjunctive pronouns. And the pronouns all, each, and both by some grammarians are classified as indefinite pronouns, while others classify them as defining pronouns. If you remember, we spoke about all, each, and both under the umbrella of defining pronouns. So, according to some of these classifications, indefinite pronouns can be divided into three subgroups: indefinite pronouns proper, distributive indefinite pronouns, and quantitative indefinite pronouns. These three groups express different degrees of indefiniteness, if we can say so. In today's lesson, we'll only be talking about the first group, indefinite pronouns proper. Moreover, we won't be discussing negative forms like nothing, none, because we'll be studying them as negative pronouns in our next lesson. But for you to see the whole picture, to get acquainted with how indefinite pronouns are classified by some grammarians, let's look at each of these groups quickly, and then we'll proceed with our indefinite pronouns proper. So there are three subgroups in indefinite pronouns proper. The first is some, any, and no. The second is somebody, anybody, nobody, someone, anyone, no one, and something, anything, nothing. And the third is one and none. Again, please mind that we'll be talking about all the negatives that you see now here, like nothing, none, no one, and so on and so forth, as about negative pronouns, as about a separate group. Then, distributive indefinite pronouns. Here we also have two little groups. According to this classification that you see now on the screen, the first subgroup is all, every, each, other, either, neither, and both. And the second is everybody, everyone, and everything. The majority of these pronouns I've already discussed, and we spoke about them as about defining pronouns. And the last group, quantitative indefinite pronouns, are much, many, little, a little, few, a lot of, lots of, a great deal, a great many, etc. By other grammarians, these words are called quantifiers. Now that theoretical part being over, let's get down to the first indefinite pronoun that we are to discuss today, which is some. The indefinite pronoun some usually expresses an indefinite number or amount or indefinite quantity. Examples: we have many cupcakes left. Would you like some? She invited a lot of friends to the wedding, but only some could come. We tried a few different sauces, and some were too spicy for us. And I have plenty of books here, feel free to take some. Neither of these examples tells us about a particular amount of something. Some means some unidentified quantity. As a determiner, some can be used with both countable and uncountable nouns. Some may also mean approximately. For example, we need to wait some 20 minutes before the next bus arrives. Last year, Mary saved some $500 for her vacation. Chris has been working here for some 5 years now. The new stadium can hold some 50,000 spectators. It's been some 10 years since we last met. And the journey to the island took some 3 hours by boat. In these sentences, some means approximately, and in all of these sentences it functions as a determiner. It gives us some estimation rather than exact figure, exact number. We need to wait approximately 20 minutes. Mary saved approximately $500, and so on and so forth. Some, when it is used with a singular countable noun, may also mean a particular but unidentified person or thing. For instance, I was approached by some stranger asking for directions. A particular but unidentified person, a stranger. He told me about some movie that he watched last weekend. Some student left their notebook in the library. Pay attention to this sentence. Some student is singular, though there is plural. Why do we say that? Well, you can also say he or she, but in modern English it is preferable to say their, because we don't know what sex we are talking about or what gender we are talking about, so it's better to say their. Some bird was singing outside my window this morning. And why are your jeans covered in mud? Some car drove by really fast just now. In these examples, some is used to refer to a specific but not identified person or thing. It emphasizes that the identity of the person that we are talking about is not known to us or is not important. Some is mainly used in affirmative sentences. In negative and interrogative sentences and in conditional clauses, we mostly use any. We have some beer in the fridge. This is an affirmative sentence, a statement, so we use some to speak about some unidentified quantity. We don't have any beer left. This is a negative sentence. So to speak about some unidentified quantity, we use any and not some. Do you have any wine? The same is true for questions. Do you have any wine? Would you like some more coffee? This sentence technically is a question, but what does it mean? In its nature, it's not a question, it's an offer. Would you like something to eat? In such questions, we use some. He hasn't read some of the books on the shelf yet. And they didn't receive some of the postcards we sent to them. Some is also used in negative and interrogative sentences when the question or the negation does not concern the part of the sentence containing some. That is, when that part of the sentence that contains some remains affirmative. Its meaning is affirmative. This is true for our last 3 sentences here. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the difference between some and any. Negative and interrogative sentences containing some and any may have different meanings. Let's compare. I'm going away for 1 week, so I won't be able to see some games. And I'm leaving, so I won't be able to see any of the games. So both clauses are negative, but one contains some, while the other one contains any. The first sentence says that the person we're talking about will be away and won't see some, only some of the games, whereas the second sentence tells us that this person won't see any games at all. He or she will miss all of them. Another couple of examples to compare. The professor couldn't answer some of our questions, and the professor couldn't answer any of our questions. The first sentence tells us that the professor couldn't answer only some of our questions, but the majority of our questions received their answers. Whereas the second sentence tells us that the professor wasn't able to answer any of our questions at all, so he answered no questions. Now, any. The indefinite pronoun any may be used in affirmative, negative, and interrogative sentences. In affirmative sentences, it means it does not matter who, what, or which. Any. Which of these dictionaries do you prefer? Any will suffice for this task. The speaker here wants to tell us that he or she does not care which dictionary he or she will be provided with. What meat is better for this dish? We can use any. Pork, beef, veal, chicken, any. And as you already know, in interrogative and negative sentences, any is used instead of some. She asked them for some money, but they didn't have any. And is there any car rental service in the town? I think there isn't any. Now, we said that any is used in questions and in negative sentences. You should note, though, that a negative meaning can be conveyed not only by not that is added to the verb, but also by some words. These words are never, without, seldom, hardly, lest, and some other words. We'll be speaking today about these 5. Jessica spoke German with hardly any accent. We have hardly, which makes our statement negative, right? I mean, grammatically. So we use any and not some. Hardly any accent. Any, by the way, is a determiner here. The student completed the assignment without any help. Without makes our statement negative. Without any help, but with some help. The project was finished without any delays. The restaurant was so remote that it seldom had any customers during the week. Seldom also makes our statement negative. Let's look at some more examples. No one took any notes during the lecture. The negative pronoun no one also makes our statement negative. So we say no one took any. We cannot say no one took some. None of the people at the table saw any reason to argue further. None is a negative component here. They never showed any interest in sports. Brian double-checked his work, lest any mistakes remain unnoticed. Lest is a very interesting word. If you don't know what this word means or how it is used in the English language, please check this video. Amanda whispered, lest any noise should wake her little brother. Here, I'll only say that lest introduces subjunctive clauses. Lest is negative in its meaning, so you should be very careful with the form of your word that follows lest and with the pronouns that go after it. Lest any mistakes remain. Lest any noise wake or should wake her little brother. Check that video if you don't feel confident about using lest. Now, several words should be said about what I call double negation. Double negation can be considered a stylistic means. By some speakers, it is considered to be bad English. If you use this double negation that I will be talking about now, you might sound less educated to some people. So please use that very carefully, or better avoid it altogether. For instance, we can say, "No one ever told me this." No one is already a negative component in this sentence, so that's why we use ever, not never. But you may also hear some people say, "No one never told me this." I put an exclamation mark here to show you that this sentence in real speech will be a little bit of an exaggeration. It will be an emotionally colored sentence. So you might hear two negative components used together for some stylistic purposes. But in general, it's a bad practice, so try not to use two negatives in one sentence or in one clause. "No one ever told me this" is a better option. Another couple of examples to illustrate this. "I don't want anything at all." We say don't want. The verb is in its negative form, so we must use anything. But you may hear some people say, "I don't want nothing at all." Again, to stress how independent they are, yeah? Or how bad they feel, yeah? So they don't want nothing. It's an exaggeration or an emotionally colored sentence. Now let's talk about any used after if or whether. Any is used to express doubt or condition in object clauses introduced by if or whether or in conditional clauses. Check these sentences. "I wonder if you have been to any of these places before." If you have any trouble using the machine, call me. Alice wondered whether any of her friends would come to the party. The manager asked whether any of the reports had been submitted on time. And should you need any assistance, don't hesitate to call. Pay attention to the last sentence. Should you need any assistance means the same as if you need any assistance. It's also a conditional clause. Should can introduce conditional clauses. If you didn't know that, watch this video. I'll provide you with all the links to the videos that I mentioned in this lesson in the description to this video. Any may also be used as an adverbial modifier of degree. For instance, after visiting the seminar, I wasn't any more interested in the topic. He couldn't be any less enthusiastic about the plan. She didn't sing any better during the rehearsal. The noise outside didn't get any quieter throughout the night. And in spite of our advice, your sister isn't any wiser. As you see, in all these examples, any is a part of adverbial modifiers of degree. We have discussed some and any, but apart from them, under the umbrella of indefinite pronouns, we also have longer words that consist of some and any and some other parts. So let's talk about compound indefinite pronouns. Compound indefinite pronouns are formed of two parts: a proper indefinite pronoun, such as some or any, and body, one, or thing. So they are somebody, someone, something, anybody, anyone, and anything. These words are compound indefinite pronouns. Let's see some examples. Somebody told me that there is a new restaurant opening downtown this week. I heard something behind the door. Did you? I didn't hear anything. You can ask me anything you want. And this certificate makes a perfect gift for anyone. These compound pronouns that contain some and any follow the same rules as the pronouns some and any. So everything I have said about some and any holds true for these words. The compound pronouns ending in one and in body are always singular in meaning and can only be used of people. So we say, "There is someone in the office. I can hear them talking." "I can't find my keys. I'm sure someone has stolen them." You shouldn't be afraid that somebody is going to criticize you. I wouldn't ask you for help if there was somebody else I could count on. There wasn't anyone in the office on Sunday. And is there anyone at home? Now, should we use someone or somebody? Is there any difference between these two? In most contexts, someone and somebody are interchangeable. The only difference is that someone is a little bit more formal than somebody. Someone told me you might need assistance with your project. How can I help you with it? Somebody told me you were looking for a new book to read. I have a great recommendation. Someone told me sounds a little bit more formal, doesn't it? Now, someone, somebody, and anyone, anybody. The compound indefinite pronouns ending in one and in body can appear in the possessive case form. This isn't anybody's problem but ours. This key could be anybody's. Let's ask around. This cake isn't anybody's favorite. I think it's everybody's dream to travel the world. The movie lived up to everybody's expectations. Your advice could apply to anyone's situation. And is it anyone's job to handle this issue? Now, when the compound indefinite pronoun ending in one or in body is followed by else, the suffix s is added to the word else, not to somebody, anybody, and so on. That's not my bicycle. It's someone else's. That seat is reserved for somebody else's guest. And I accidentally took somebody else's coffee order. When choosing between someone, anyone, and somebody, anybody, we should also keep in mind that someone and anyone are more individualizing. The compound indefinite pronouns ending in body refer to persons collectively, whereas those ending in one refer to individuals, which is logical if you think about one. That is a component of these words. Try selling your old bike on the internet. I'm sure somebody will get interested. In this sentence, what we want to say is that some people, maybe one, maybe a dozen, will get interested in your bike. We're not speaking about one individual. Check the second example. I've got a message from someone interested in my old bike. I've got a message from one person who is interested in my old bike. It's one person who sent me that message, one person that I'm talking about now, right? Thus, the compound pronouns ending in body, unlike those ending in one, are never followed by an of phrase. We can say, has any one of you read this novel? But not, has anybody of you read that novel? Let's now concentrate on something and anything. The compound indefinite pronouns ending in thing can be used only to speak about things. By things in English we normally understand animals as well. We use them to speak about objects, animals, and notions. They are singular in meaning and they cannot have the form of the possessive case. Why? Because grammatically speaking, a thing cannot possess anything. Let's look at some examples. Please say something. Something about their story doesn't end up. Are you looking for something specific? Is there anything I can help you with? The boys didn't find anything interesting in the attic. Let me see what you've got. If there is anything I like, I'll buy it. If there is anything I can do, let me know. Again, something is used in statements, in affirmative sentences, whereas anything is used in interrogative sentences and in negative sentences. This is the same rule that we learned about the indefinite pronouns proper, some, and any. Something can be used idiomatically, that is, in phrases that cannot be literally translated into your language. For instance, this example. She is something of a rebel. How should we understand this sentence? There is something in her that rebels are normally characterized by. She looks like a rebel. She has a character of a rebel, and so on and so forth. She is something of a rebel. I hope to see something of you during the summer. This sentence means that I hope to see you at least a couple of times this summer. I hope to see something of you, yeah? A little bit of you. He is something in the consulate. This sentence means that he holds some position in the consulate. We don't know which exactly, but he has some job there. Something or other prevented him from calling his ex-girlfriend. Due to this or that reason, he didn't call her because of this or that situation that occurred. So these were some common idiomatic expressions with the pronoun something. Now, compound indefinite pronouns may be modified by adjectives. Adjectives are generally placed in past position to their head words. Let me demonstrate. I'd like to read something inspiring, something motivating. Could you recommend anything? For Jane's 21st birthday, her parents prepared for her something special. I went to the shop to see if they had got anything new. Is there anything important I should know? As you see in all of these examples, adjectives follow the pronoun something. They do not precede it. It's a totally different story with the nouns and with some other pronouns. Adjectives normally go before nouns in English. With compound indefinite pronouns like something, somebody, anything, anybody, adjectives appear in past position, that is, after this compound indefinite pronouns. The last indefinite pronoun that we are to talk about today is the most complicated. It's one. The indefinite pronoun one refers only to persons or things that are countable. It is used to refer to any person or to every person. First and foremost, let's go through several important points that we should know about the pronoun one. The indefinite pronoun one is often used in a general sense. One has the plural form, which is ones. It also has the form of the possessive case, ones. They sound the same, but the possessive case form is written via the apostrophe. And one last thing that I should mention, there is also the reflexive pronoun oneself. It is formed from one. Before we go through different uses of one, let me give you some examples of sentences with this pronoun. One should never underestimate the power of kindness. One here stands for people, you, any person in general. It has this generalizing meaning. You can even replace it with we all. We all should never underestimate the power of kindness. One must always strive to do their best. We all must strive. Every person must strive. You must strive, and so on and so forth. Can one learn a new language in a few months? Do you prefer the landscape painting or the abstract one? Here, the use of one is a little bit different. One helps us avoid repetition in the sentence. Instead of using the word painting twice, I can say the landscape painting or the abstract one. So one substitutes the noun painting here. This sweater goes in 3 colors: crimson, purple, and navy blue. Which one would you prefer? Here, one also substitutes a noun that was mentioned before. In particular, the noun sweater. Which sweater would you prefer? Which one would you prefer? I cannot but agree that old books are often the best ones. Here we see the plural form of one, because ones replaces here the noun books, the noun which is in plural. It's important to follow one's heart. The possessive case form of one is here. And again, one is used in its generalizing meaning here. It is important to follow your heart. It is important for every person in this world. Improving one's skills takes time and effort. He is the one who can help you with your problem. We see the definite article the here. It precedes one, and the one means the only person. One should never doubt oneself when facing challenges. In this sentence, we can also see the reflexive pronoun, oneself. Now, as I have already said, one has many different uses in English. Let's go through them one by one. The first scenario in which you should use one is when you want to refer to all people or I or any person in my position. When used this way, it refers to no particular person, but rather to all people in general. One never knows what to expect in life. Nobody ever knows, yeah? Or you never know. The fields were covered in white flowers as far as one could see, as far as the speaker or any other person in his or her shoes, in his or her position, could see. You don't want to overuse one because it can make your speech sound way too formal and unnatural. Let me demonstrate you this. One's success depends on one's dedication and effort. If one gives one's best in everything one does, one will surely achieve one's goals. How do you like this sentence? Isn't it clumsy? This is not something that a real person would say, yeah? So how can we improve this sentence? We can use you, for instance. So you can say, your success depends on your dedication and effort. If you give your best in everything you do, you will surely achieve your goals. This sentence is less formal and it is more natural. Another couple of examples. When one listens to one's inner voice, one rarely goes astray. Weird, isn't it? So we can improve it, replacing one with you. When you listen to your inner voice, you rarely go astray. You can also use the noun people, for instance. You can say, when people listen to their inner voices, they rarely go astray. In some contexts, you might be able to use someone, for instance. That will depend on the idea that you want to express, but this way or another, overusing one is not good. The second scenario in which we use the indefinite pronoun one is when we want to say a person. One who studies mathematics should explore real-world applications to see how theoretical knowledge can be used to solve particular problems. A person who studies mathematics, yada yada. There was a look in his eyes of one who had finally found the answer he had been searching for his entire life. There was a look in his eyes of a person who had finally found yada yada. And believe me, she is the one you can count on when times get tough. She is the person you can count on. The third scenario in which we use one is when we contrast it with other or another. These two puppies are almost identical. I cannot tell one from the other. So we have one and the other, right? The kids have found two stray kittens in the park. We'll take one and you take the other. When the USSR collapsed, one republic after another declared independence. Here we're not speaking about two things, we're speaking about a series of declarations, many republics, right? And we use one together with another to show that they all did it one by one. And the band overcame one challenge after another on their North American tour. Now the fourth scenario is when one is used in combination with nouns that denote time. In this case, one is used to express some vague time. For instance, one day you'll understand. We don't know when exactly, just one day in the future, someday. I'll come around one of these days and we'll talk. Again, it is not specified when exactly, what day it will be. One of these days, soon. And one winter morning, everything changed. The time that we are speaking about here is also somewhat vague. As I have already mentioned in this video, one can mean only or single. For instance, this is the one way we can do it. This is the only way we can do it. The one thing you should remember is the professor's name. The only thing that you should remember, the most important thing that you should remember. Asking for her forgiveness is the one thing you can do now. You are the one person who knows the right answer to this question. You are that person who knows this answer. In other words, only you know the answer to this question. And finally, one can be used as a prop word. What is a prop word? In grammar, a prop word is a word that replaces a noun that was previously mentioned. One helps us avoid repetitions. In order not to mention the same noun multiple times, we can mention it once and then use one. For instance, Jane tried on several dresses, but she liked the red one best. The pronoun one replaces the noun dress. If you don't have a pen, I can lend you one. Here, one replaces the word pen. Please note, if the prop word one is preceded by an adjective, an article must be used with it. The first of the two examples that I have just shown has one that is preceded by an adjective. This adjective is red. Yeah, thus we used the article the red one. In the second example, if you don't have a pen, I can lend you one. No article is used. There is no adjective. More examples with adjectives. It's not my bag. Mine is a pink one. The pronoun one replaces the word bag. We have an adjective in front of one, so we must use an article. Which article? A, because it introduces a new piece of information to our interlocutor. Mine is a pink one. The third day at the summer camp was more interesting than the previous ones. Ones refers back to days. We have an adjective here, that's why the is used. The previous ones. There is one more thing that I should say about one. Please note that the prop word one may be used with other pronouns, such as these or these, that or those, which, each, every, and other or another. Let's see. Which shirt do you like the most? That one. There were dozens of yachts, each one more expensive than the other. There are many other examples like these ones. I see you don't like your drink. Let me buy you another one. What you should be careful with is the singular and the plural forms. That one, but those ones. Or this one, but these ones. There are situations in which one cannot be used, and we should mention them. So, note that one cannot be used in the following situations. First and foremost, we cannot use one after own. So we can say, I don't want to use one of those cups, I have my own with me, and we must not say, I have my own one. That's not correct. Then, one cannot be used after a superlative or comparative adjective preceded by the definite article. Let's see. Of all the performers, she was the brightest. We don't say the brightest one. The brightest is correct. Or, of the two books, I chose the newer. The first sentence contains the superlative form, the brightest. The second contains the comparative form, the newer. That one that was newer. But the prop word one can be used when most is used in the meaning of very. For instance, there are a lot of incredible works exhibited today, but the most interesting ones are those created by the students of our faculty. Another situation in which we cannot use one is after cardinal numbers. I bought only one book, but my friend bought 7. We don't say 7 ones, we say 7. And the 3 skeins are yours and those 2 are mine. Note that after ordinal numbers, 1 is possible, so we can say the first one, the second one, but we cannot say 2 ones or 7 ones. Now, 1 is often used idiomatically. Let's see some examples. An e-reader is a great gift that will be appreciated by one and all. The expression one and all means everybody. Everybody will like it. I could be in time for the family dinner if not for one thing. The expression for one thing means for one reason. Mastering a new grammar rule is not a one and done exercise. When we say that something is one and done, we want to say that it's only done once and it is easily done. So mastering a new grammar rule is not a one and done exercise. It is an exercise that should be repeated multiple times. You should return to the same rule over and over again in order to master it. This is the one and only 12-string acoustic guitar in my collection. The one and only. Basically, it's an emphatic way of saying the only, unique. Have a great time in Spain, guys, and make your stay in Barcelona truly one of the books. One of the books, as you might have already guessed, means something so exciting or so incredible that it can only be described in books and cannot happen in real life. Before you leave, how about one for the road? One for the road means a drink, usually an alcoholic drink, that one may have before leaving, usually going somewhere far or for a long period of time. This is all for today. I hope this video was useful. Subscribe to this channel not to miss my other lessons, and see you in the next video.